Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Amy. Today I'm going to be doing the second video challenge for BookTube-a-thon 2017, which is the Say My Name challenge, which essentially means that you are supposed to take the title of your favorite book and then take the first letter of book titles from your collection to then spell out your title. I will leave the challenge video down below for you guys if you haven't seen it or you want to do it yourselves, but if you're interested in seeing how I did the challenge, then go ahead and keep watching. It will probably not come as a surprise to most of you that the book I decided to do, despite it being a bit of a challenge, was A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. This is probably one of my favorite books of all time. I absolutely love this book. This is a coming-of-age story about a girl named Francine Nolan who lives in Brooklyn in 1910, and it's beautiful. You should read it. Betty Smith's writing is absolutely amazing, but let's go ahead and jump to the clip of me spelling out the title. There you have it. There is me spelling out A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. 19 letters, I think. A lot of letters, so a lot of books. But I thought just so that you guys could see the books a little bit better that I would run through them really quick. So the first letter in A Tree Grows in Brooklyn is a letter A, and I chose the children's picture book Akiak by Robert J. Blake. This is a tale about a dog named Akiak who was in the Iditarod race, which is a very famous dog race in Alaska, I think. Really wonderful book from my childhood based on a true story. I would absolutely recommend it to all of you. As we come for T is The Taming of the Shrew by Shakespeare, my favorite Shakespeare play that I've read and still love to go back to. It's hilarious and still stands the test of time. R, Rebel Queen by Michelle Moran. I have not read this book yet, but it is about an Indian queen when Britain was trying to come in and colonize the area and her fight against it. She had two armies, a male army and a female army. It sounds amazing. I love books like this. Historical fiction based on true events is super cool to me. So hopefully we'll be getting to that one soon. Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. I have not read this book, but I have not watched the movie either because I don't like to cheat, but I've heard only amazing things about this. This was a really big deal quite a few years back, but just a woman's kind of middle-aged midlife crisis type scenario, and I believe she goes to Italy, India, and Indonesia. E, Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine, the wonderful, well-loved story about a girl who was blessed with a gift of obedience and her struggle to kind of just deal with that as she grew up and comes of age. G is a favorite picture book of mine, and that is the Gobble Gobble Moo tractor book by Jez Alborough. It's absolutely wonderful. Great farm story about these farm animals pretending to make the noises for the tractor. Adorable read. You should go get it. R, Ride the Winter Wind by Christina Kingston. Most likely my favorite romance novel of all time. I mentioned it in my romance novel recommendations video. I will link that up here for you guys, or is it up here? I can't ever remember. Whichever, I'll link that up here for you guys to check out. Adorable story. O, Once Upon a Dream, A Twisted Tale by Liz Braswell. This is a retelling of the Disney Sleeping Beauty, but told in a way as if Maleficent kind of won. Super good. There's several others in the series, but this one was my favorite. W, The Whole Brain Child, 12 Revolutionary Strategies to Nurture Your Child's Developing Mind by Daniel J. Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson. This is a fascinating book talking about ways to connect with kids and why their brains and how their brains work differently than ours, and how we can use these techniques that they talk about to reason with them and help them understand what they're trying to get them to understand. Absolutely recommend this book. I learned so much from it when I read it. If you are a parent or an early child educator, I would highly suggest reading it. S, The 7 Ages of Paris by Alastair Horn. This is the portrait of a city. This is essentially the city of Paris's history, and I absolutely love this book. I actually bought this in Paris at Shakespeare & Company. I even got the little stamp, so near and dear to my heart. Absolutely adored reading this after I got back from my trip. Inside of a Dog, What Dogs See, Smell, and Know by Alexandra Horowitz. I loved this nonfiction book. I am a huge dog lover as the owner of 3 dogs, 2 big dogs and a little dog, and this was a wonderful, wonderful study about dogs and how they interact with humans and their intelligence and their world and their environment. If you have any bit of an interest in learning a little bit more about dogs, this is a wonderful, fascinating read. N, Night Song by Ari Beck and Lauren Long. This is the sweetest story about a little bat learning how to use his special gifts and bat powers to get around during the night. I love bats, probably one of my favorite animals, and the illustrations in this book are amazing. So seriously guys, like, this book, you need this book if you have kids, or even if you don't have kids. If you like bats, just go get Night Song. It's absolutely adorable. B, Beauty by Robin McKinley. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling that is very, very similar to the original story of Beauty and the Beast, which I do really enjoy the original story. It's just very whimsical and fairy tale, even more so than the Disney version. Absolutely love this story. I've read it so many times and probably will continue to do so. R, Return to Laughter, an anthropological novel by Eleanor Smith Bowen. I mentioned this book in my books I want to reread video. I will link it up here for you guys, but this is a fantastic personal account of Eleanor Smith Bowen's experiences as an anthropologist in West Africa. It's a stunning story. She fictionalized it so it reads like a book. If you have any interest in learning about anthropology or what it's like to be an anthropologist and how they kind of deal and grapple with the problems and emotions they feel being so far away from home in a different culture, trying to learn from these people, I would absolutely recommend this book. It's phenomenal. Oh, Owl Babies by Martin Waddell, illustrated by Patrick Benson. This was a favorite book of mine as a child. My mother was always reading these books to us. This book to us. This is about 3 owls named Sarah, Percy, and Bill. This is obviously the board book version, but it does come in just like a normal picture book edition. But it is an adorable story. It's great for right before bed too, in my opinion, even though it isn't specifically a before bed book. Oh, The Other Boleyn Girl by Philippa Gregory. This was made into a movie that did no justice, in my opinion, to the book, as most movies, in my opinion, do. But this is the story about Anne Boleyn's sister, Mary Boleyn, who was the mistress to King Henry VIII for a while before he married Anne Boleyn. It's a wonderful story. It's heart-wrenching. It's very interesting. I would absolutely recommend it if you are any bit interested in Henry VIII or the Tudors. I mean, talk about drama, and for the most part, none of it's made up. But a fictionalized version of her story, another really, really good read. Hey! King Arthur and His Knights of the Round Table by Roger Lancelin Green. I have not read this book, but I would really like to. I have listened to a podcast called Myths and Legends. I'll leave it linked down below. It's a wonderful podcast where a guy named Jason reads the original texts and versions of these fairy tales and stories and myths and legends and tells them to you, and they're absolutely wonderful. So I have heard some of the stories from in this book, but I would really, really like to read it. It's fascinating to me, and so much literature and pop culture is based off of this, so I'd like to get around to it eventually. L, Lord of the Manor by Jean Carmichael, another favorite romance novel of mine. This one's a pretty clean one, so it's definitely PG at its worst, and a very, very sweet story about 2 people that probably cared about each other for a very long time but weren't willing to admit it. Y, Young Warriors, Stories of Strength, edited by Tamora Pierce and Josepha Sherman. This is a short story collection about young warriors, and Tamora Pierce is one of my favorite YA fantasy authors. I grew up reading her books, and this was just a collection. It's been a really long time since I've read these, but I remember enjoying them a lot when I was in high school. and N. The Nevernight, book 1 by Jay Kristoff. I have not read this yet. I just recently picked it up at a bargain deal at a used bookstore. This is like an assassin's revenge story type of thing. I've only heard amazing things about it. I know the gal from Little Book Owl, this was like her favorite book of 2016 or 2015, I'm not sure. So I'm looking forward to reading it. There you go, guys. There are the books up close and a little bit more personal than just my overview of stacking them all together. But thank you so much for watching, you guys. Let me know what you did, or if you did a video, or what your favorite book is. But if you like this video, please like it, and if you loved it, please subscribe, and we'll see you in my next video. Happy reading!